session. Please feel free always to ask questions. Write them in the chat, and we will refer to them in the Q&A session and get back to you on this matters. Okay, now I hope everyone who wants to join us this morning is connected. Warm welcome. Thanks for joining us on a Monday morning. We really appreciate. This morning, our session is Space for Sustainable Tourism, and we are very glad to have a speaker from the European Space Agency with us, Asimina Siriou, who is going to speak about the Space for Tourism call on a special ESA program focused on commercialization of space solutions. And we identified in our regions best practices to show you what can you do with space in tourism. We have with us Tariq Habib from Muraschen, a company based in Occitanie, and we have two best practices from Basilicata region. I see familiar names, and I thank them for joining us, and I see new names. That's why I maybe say one or two sentences about NEREUS, who we are, what we are doing, and invite you to the next sessions. NEREUS stands for Network of European Regions Using Space Technologies. Our mission is to spread the use and understanding of space technologies and stimulate the application and the development of new space solutions. Our target audiences are public users, local and regional authorities. We are the only regional network focused on space uses, where the regions, the local and regional authorities are the main members and share the governance of the network. We work on three columns: advocacy, political dialogue, interregional networking, partnerships and cooperations, and new trends outreach. And in our second column, interregional cooperations, networks, partnerships, we are trying also to stimulate and to support our partners to bid into EU and ESA opportunities, mobilize model projects showing, experimenting what can you do with space. And in this context, we organize targeted info sessions for members, and we open them to everyone, because we want also to know who else is out there. Tourism is our key topic today. It's a core topic and sector in most of the regional economies of our partners. A lot of our partners host cultural or natural cultural heritage. Many regions are coastal regions, maritime regions, mountainous regions, who have a large and important touristic sites. And the pandemic was really detrimental for most regions and for the tourism sector in many regions. That's why we also like to give a new impulse with space. We think space can bring new solutions to the sector, can create new touristic experiences, can contribute to make space more sustainable. And I'm very curious to hear more about the regional best practices. With this, I invite you to the next webinars. We have two formats. We have one format that is targeted at universities and research centers, and we will have the next webinar upcoming in January with new best practices from universities. And we have a second edition targeted at the commercial community, of our member regions, the clusters, the SME networks, the SMEs, and we go through, we attract through different topics, showing what can space bring to different sectors of the economy, and name it tourism, agriculture. And we had recently also requests from our partners to learn more what is happening in the defense sector. So our next webinar for the cluster community will be on the 30th January, introducing to another network, the European Network of Defense-related regions, which is complementary to our network, and learning what is the dimension of space for these challenges. Having given you an outlook, I come back to today's program and very pleased to give the floor to Asimina Siriu. Asimina, you are going to present to us a program that is focused on the commercialization of space and the latest call, Space for Tourism. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Roya. Let me start sharing my screen. And please tell me whether you can see the full screen.
Yes.
Is it fine?
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks. So thanks very much, Roya, for the introduction. A big thanks to both Roya and Margarita for hosting me today, NEREUS organization, of course. I believe this is a great opportunity to, just present our funding opportunity on sustainable tourism. I will try to explain everything within the next 20 minutes. And of course, any questions you have, feel free, to raise them towards the end. I have a full screen, so I cannot really see whether you have raised any hands, but Margarita, I rely on you on this. So thanks a lot. Quick introduction on my side. My name is Mina Siriu. I work at the ESA Business Applications and Space Solutions Department at the European Space Agency. I have been working for the agency for about 3 years and a half, and I have a focus on environmental sustainability, including tourism and clean energy. So just to give you a quick glimpse on what we do and what is the European Space Agency. As probably most of you already know, it's an intergovernmental organization of 22 member states dedicated to the exploration of space. And there's a lot we can do with space and in space. So what does ESA actually do is we work on across those 4 different pillars that I show you here. We have the science and exploration, which has to do with scientific research, exploration of other astronomical bodies, research in the International Space Station. Enabling and support is the second one, what makes it all possible, supporting Europe's launch capability, maintaining and operating the satellites that we have in space, research and development in order to build the space technologies of the future. Then, of course, is safety and security, which is a big topic, especially these days, for obvious reasons. It's, however, also safety from natural hazards, space debris, cybersecurity. And last but not least, we have a pillar that is called applications. It's where ESA Space Solutions sits, where I'm working at, and it's focusing on supporting the uptake and utilization of space technology and data in broader domains. So moving on specifically now on the ESA Space Solutions department that I work at. So the overall mission is to provide and promote, of course, for exclusively peaceful purposes, the cooperation among European states in space research and technology, but other space applications as well. This is the overall aim of the European Space Agency. And if we narrow it down to the department that I'm working at, we're a very business-oriented one. Therefore, through our funding programs, we support small, medium enterprises and startups to develop sustainable services using space technology and data. We also support ideas of transferring space technology into non-space markets or vice versa. And it's very important to note that we want to help generate successful businesses and, of course, create ultimately new job opportunities. Now, at ESA Space Solutions, we support, as I mentioned before, European companies, including startups and SMEs, to develop sustainable businesses, business opportunities using space technology and data. And our ultimate goal is to show that space is open for business. So how do we really do this? By helping companies integrate space technology and data into commercial services and applications. And as a result, potential applicants, successful applicants, receive zero equity funding that varies from about like 50K up to a couple of million euros per activity, a personalized visa consultant, technical and commercial guidance, access to our network of partners, and of course, credibility to the ISA brand, especially when it comes to small companies promoting themselves. Generally speaking, we have three ways in which we work, separating our activities between demonstration projects, feasibility studies, and kickstarts. So demonstration projects, in a nutshell, is where bidders showcase a mature value proposition and a business plan, running a pilot with potential customers or end users. We have feasibility studies where companies explore an idea, come up with a business plan, and connect with potential users. And then we have Kickstart activities, which are of much smaller duration. They are part of feasibility studies, and they are, let's say, thematic activities. I'm going to be explaining a little bit more later on. So moving on to the BAS program, which is the Business Application and Space Solutions, this is what it stands for. It acts as a broker between user communities, space industry, and service providers to help establish space-based applications addressing customers and user needs into different markets. As you can see on the right-hand side, we have like a long list of verticals that we work on that vary from maritime, education, tourism, environment, healthcare, aviation, and beyond. All these verticals are complemented by space technology, as I mentioned. We have some minimum entry requirements for our program, and as I mentioned already too many times, we need to make sure that potential applicants make use of space technology. And what do we mean by this? Earth observation, anything that is related to land, sea, air monitoring, infrastructure monitoring, change detection, weather forecasting. Satellite communication, when it comes to satellite communications, like reliable and secure communication, remote connectivity, backup to terrestrial infrastructure. And of course, we have satellite navigation, GNSS, global positioning, precision timing, route optimization. And all these coupled with complementing technologies such as big data analytics, AR, VR, mega constellations, IoT. What do I mean by this? If we have potential applicants that they come up with a potential idea using Earth observation into their potential service, this means that they are absolutely free and flexible to use complementing technology such as blockchain, IoT, AR, VR in order to support their development slash proposal. So as I mentioned, we cross across a lot of different markets. And one of the things that I would like to say as last in this slide is like we have a 5G hub recently established in Exat in the UK. It's one of the ESA's smallest ESA sites where you can actually use it for free in case you apply to our program and you are successful. And more information can be found on the link that I have on my slide. So moving out now to the opportunity, the space for tourism opportunity. This is a quick glimpse to show you what it is about. We welcome pitches, ideas that propose the development of space-based services enabled by innovative digital solutions to support tourism and travel industry in the transition to the new normal. So what do we mean by this? Due to the pandemic, of course, like COVID-19, several countermeasures were being undertaken to limit its spread and have altogether triggered an unprecedented crisis in the tourism economy. This impact is spreading throughout the entire tourism ecosystem and beyond, and this has long-lasting societal and economic effects, not only on travelers' behavior, of course, regarding safety during but also in their destinations. So as I mentioned earlier, we work across lots of different markets. We work closely with relevant organizations or technological innovators to facilitate a deeper understanding of the challenges each market sector is facing. So in this case, in the case of Space for Tourism, these stakeholders guided us on which are the most up-to-date user needs, with a plan to support our potential bidders to come up with the most suitable user requirements for the services they want to develop. So specifically for the Space for Tourism call, we have a long list of stakeholders, which you can see like on the slide as well. We have the Hellenic Chambers of Hotels, we have Expedia Group, Emirates, the Global Himalayan Expedition, Andermatt Swiss Alps, Visit Flanders, Mirpuri Foundation in Portugal, the World Tourism Forum Lucerne, Paris & Co in France. So we have overall 13 different stakeholders. And I totally recommend you to visit the link that I have on the webpage. Go to the download section towards the end and really download the scope. As you can see, the ESA Space for Tourism scope, which includes all the relevant information you need to know about the specific call, as well as all the details about the use cases that the stakeholders we work with have identified. There is a template piece that you can download, and you can just like go through the document and start filling your application. So, as part of the call, we have identified some key focus areas that our potential applicants can focus on, but we're not limited to those ones. These are just examples to spark ideas. So if you have any idea additional to this one, feel free to just, propose it by submitting this through your pitch. So the use of digital and connectivity solutions to help the sector embrace new business models is required post-COVID-19, focusing on supporting rural tourism, promoting remote experiences, providing everywhere connectivity, for example. Then we have seamless travel, technology and services to ensure transparency, traceability according to relevant protocols, and enable an efficient implementation of new regulations, whether this is like identification of are safe, let's say, or unsafe areas, parks, squares, big markets, or any other touristic places with crowds. Another example I could think of is estimation of capacity for tourism by identifying visitors patterns, working lots, parking lots, crowds of people, etc. Then, of course, is safe travel, applications and services to help the tourism sector become more resilient to nature or even man-made disasters and health issues. Then we have guide investments and measuring impact, measuring, let's say, the net impact of tourism, focusing on rural tourism as well as investments and planning, tourism seasonality, trends, monitoring or managing and mitigating risks. We have drive sustainable tourism development, which is, for example, technologies and services that help with crisis management and prevention of natural disasters in tourism destinations, and many, many more. As I said, these are just like some thematic areas that we have identified so that we spark ideas for potential applicants. But if you come up with any other thematic area that you feel more comfortable with, of course, feel free ahead and propose this. I know this slide is a bit busy, but I just wanted to kind of like highlight for you some of the use cases identified by our stakeholders. You can find them in way more detail in the document that I mentioned before, the scope of work. So one of our major stakeholders is the municipality of Florence in Italy. They have identified some key topics, let's say, that are related to sustainability, for example. So after COVID-19, the need to rethink and differentiate city users has become more and more important. So apparently they have a platform that they have been working on, they have developed. And they need to update it with more data sources that are relevant to the tourism industry. So this is just like for you to start thinking how exactly you could help, for example, the municipality of Florence. Then we have WWF. Ideally, they would like to identify unsustainable tourism activities or visit Flanders, like measuring a number of long-distance cyclists on some specific routes. Expedia Group, they have an interest in creating personalized and frictionless experiences that meet the emerging needs of the different travelers. The Global Himalayan Expedition based in India. They have an interest in natural resources monitoring or anything that is related to travelers' accommodation and safety updates. Then Paris & Co, teleworking, or the Athens International Airport, like unmanned transportation using robotics applications together with space technology. So as you can see, there's a long list with lots of ideas, and it's really down to you to decide which is the most relevant one to you and move forward. In this slide, I just wanted to give you again a quick glimpse on how all those use cases that I just mentioned as examples can fit with the use of space technology using some examples. So when it comes to Earth observation, what is Earth observation? Like using remote sensing imagery to do any type of monitoring. EO, Earth observation, can be used for land cover monitoring, land classification of forests, water, land, anything. monitoring of rivers. Generally speaking, change detection for monitoring of natural habitat or even wildlife can be used to monitor the expansion of cities or villages, which usually leads to growing touristic capacities or introduces any types of challenges like the need for sustainable development for public transport or anything related to parking spaces, infrastructure and logistics. Then when it comes to GNSS, Global Navigation Satellite Systems, it's really essential to track and trace tourists and provide information to search and rescue teams, for example, or satellite communications. It's really essential to ensure communications, whether the terrestrial communications are absent or not reliable, and to support digital solutions. What do I mean by this? Let's say field of mobile immersive applications, or when wildlife penetration can be considered as a critical factor for the safety of the of the touristic image of a specific region. I mean, there are lots of plenty applications that you can kind of like think of. So as part of our program, when you, for example, start filling in your pitch to submit it to our program, in case you need any help, of course, you can reach out to me directly. But of course, we have lots of different networks that are called the Ambassadors Network. The link can be found on the slide, where they can help you to come up with the most suitable pitch for our program. We have lots of different ambassadors across the member states, not in every single one member state, but we have a strong one in Italy, in Portugal, in the UK, and lots of other countries, as you can see in the map. So visit the website, visit the specific like ambassadors platform, and if you need additional help to fill in your pitch, I mean, please go ahead and do so. Now, this is a bit of a timeline of how our process works. So we released the call back in 25th of April, 2022. The call will be closing in the end of March. As you can see on top, on the bullet points, we have some application rounds where companies can apply for their pitches. Don't really get confused because we have those different patches just to easy up a little bit the process for us to evaluate the incoming pitches. All you need to think of is that you can apply anytime using all the information and guidelines on our website. And the main deadline is 31st of March. It might be extended, but this is a bit with a question mark because it's not confirmed yet. But keep in mind that deadline is 31st of March, so you have plenty of time and feel free to, just, apply. So you need to make sure that you register your team on ISA-STAR. All information can be found on the scope of work with all the details. If you haven't done it so, I mean, just go ahead and do it. If you are more than one company, like applying as a consortium, I mean, make sure that all companies, the whole team is registered. You go to the download section in the website that I showed you before, where you can download the scope, the pitch, and all the information that you need. And make sure in the meantime, while you are preparing your pitch, that you reach out to your national delegations because each national delegation's approval needs to be taken in order to proceed to the next level. It's not really down to ISA only to give the green light to proceed with your proposals. You need to contact as well the national delegations. And this information can again be found on our website. These are the steps. And the reason why I put them all so wordy, like in my presentation, is because like I'm pretty sure that towards the end, Margarita and NEREUS organization in general can share this presentation with you in case you need it. So all the links can be found here, how you can submit your pitch, where you can find like all the relevant information, even the details to contact your national delegations. It's the last link on the slide. And then moving forward with regards to how exactly we work, I just wanted to differentiate the two things for you. Generally speaking, we have funding opportunities through our program, but we work mainly in two different ways. The part of Safe Space for Tourism is a direct negotiation one, which means that whichever company applies to our program, we evaluate the pitches on a case-by-case basis. You do not compete with any other companies as opposed to the invitation to tender where you compete with other companies. You focus on the direct negotiation one. We accept both feasibility studies and demonstration projects. These are the funding levels that I mentioned before. Minimum is 50% and maximum is up to 80%. And this is subject to national delegations approval. So when you submit, you indicate roughly what is the percent that you're willing to, co-fund yourselves as well. But this needs to come in a common agreement with each national delegation because, of course, it varies. In the case of Italy, for example, I know that usually national delegations fund up to 80% for small, medium enterprises. And I think that would be all on my side. Feel free to visit the website. This is the link at the bottom of this of the slide. Any questions you have, feel free to reach out to either myself or to the ambassadors. They're fully aware and they're willing to help you to submit your pitch. And I'm more than happy to respond to any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Please let us know in the chat. I don't see, so maybe we continue with the best practices, with giving you some practical examples, and then we can have maybe a joint a Q&A session. We identified best practices across Europe, and the first one will be from Tarek Habib from the company Murmuration, and the best practice has the title Aura Tourism. So we are curious to hear more about your experience. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Let me just share the screen up. Everything seems to work nicely. So my name is Tarek. I co-founded the company Murmuration in 2019 now. So it's been a little bit more than 3 years. We started with being 3 persons, and today we are 20, and our focus is really on sustainable tourism, and to put the environment really at the heart of decision making of this industry. It comes to no surprise now that we have a number of environmental challenges, very various. When we talk about tourism, it's really a very complex industry in the sense that it's dependent on all the underlyings of a specific destination. So that's a very key point, I would say. From biodiversity to air pollution, water pollution, all of these points basically impact directly the tourism activity in the destination, including the infrastructure, for example, urbanization, etc., etc. And our challenge at Murmuration is really to help decision makers to mitigate the various risks, and to have some sort of like a pragmatic approach to solve the environmental challenges. What we do at the end is really a digital decision support tools that we put in the hands of between the hands of decision makers, be it a specific destination, a specific site, or region, department, or on a national level. This is a quite ambitious approach, I would say, and in order to do so, we divided the environment into 5 different domains. So the first one is water, air, biodiversity, land, and finally tourism statistics. We rely heavily on satellite data, and we combine this data with other data sources, but it's our main data source. And this is something that is actually extremely powerful. Why? Because this data is available on a global scale, meaning that the approach that we'll be proposing for one stakeholder can be replicated, applied to another destination, which would help in like the global transition of the sector by, for example, deriving standards, establishing benchmarks, comparing best practices from a destination to another. I have an example in mind, for example, that we worked for the city of Madrid in order to see what was the impact or the efficiency of having this zero carbon or low emission zone in the city center of Madrid, for example, whether it has been beneficial or not from various aspects, but mainly the environmental aspect related to, for example, air pollution. So on the next slides, I actually put some examples just for you to grasp what we are proposing, but they are just triggers for discussions. So here, for example, this is work that we did for the European Travel Commission, where we studied the air quality in 33 cities across Europe. And we compared, the idea was to compare actually the levels of air quality before, during, and after the COVID-19, and to see basically if there are air quality issues that are related to the tourism industry or not. How so? Among these cities, we have established the ones where there has been sustained, I would say, tourism activity, and the ones that were where tourism was at stop during COVID, for example, and we compared them as well. Just to help you read this diagram on the right, basically there is an order. So if the bright circle is on the left and the dark circle is on the right, it means that we are doing on the that we are going in the right direction when it comes to enhancements in air quality, regardless of the underlying activity, including the tourism one. Another example here, we worked for the Malta Tourism Authority, and the idea here was to derive the correlation, the potential correlation between vegetation, the vegetation health as well, the green corridors, including green corridors within the city, and the tourism activity. So here it was really, the idea was to map the vegetation health. This is something that we're used to do using Earth observation data. But here the idea was to link it to the tourism activity by, for example, computing the mean distance between a tourism infrastructure and a vegetation area, be it an open area within the city, for example, or an area where ecotourism can be developed. Ecotourism being something different from sustainable tourism, but it's these are the terms that are used within the industry, and then to derive basically statistics also related to, okay, if there is a vegetation area that is suffering from decreasing health over time, if this decrease in health is related to the tourism activity or not. So these are the types of indicators, and what I show here actually is the type of interfaces that we develop, and we put them between their hands. Another work that we did also for the Malta Tourism Authority was to go up a little bit in the analysis and to link basically the indicators that we derive to the SDGs. So that's an official reporting that the Malta Tourism Authority is used to produce, and we supply them with the data that helps them do this reporting. One of the ongoing actually activities that we do is we deliver operational dashboards, the one like the one that you see here, for the Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes region, tourism region in France. And here the idea was to try to link air quality directly with the number of tourists on the regional scale. The study was not really, for the moment, the numbers were not really conclusive on this aspect, so we need to dig in a little bit on the potential links with the meteorological data. I'm mentioning this on purpose because here what you see in the dashboard on the right and the correlations that we derive uses massively Earth observation data, but also uses GSM data, positioning of users and so on. But what I wanted to say is that these things are operational, but we usually need a further analysis step to accompany the users in how to use the data and whether they should integrate another dimension to their analysis or not. Another example is when we studied the snow cover in the Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes area, and to see if basically sorry, the snow cover is the next one. So this is the meteorological. Sorry, I don't see because the screen is very small. So this is the link between the meteorological, conditions and the tourism patterns. So whether under specific meteorological conditions, for example, citizens of Lyon, that's the one that you're seeing here, are moving to another area, and if yes, where do they go? So here again, Earth observation data is key in order to study the meteorological conditions and to map this, so temperature, precipitation, wind, and for example these conditions, and whether thermal comfort, for example, impacts the movement, and where do the people go. So here, this is the question regarding the snow cover and whether it's linked to specific visit patterns or not. And I will end the presentation on this slide where we do this cross correlation. For example, here you can see air pollution, for example, or air quality linked to the tourism infrastructure. So here you can see that there is like an axis on the Mediterranean and on the around the Toulouse area, where there is high air pollution coming directly from the tourism activity, where there are some remote areas where you have tourism infrastructure, but it's not heavily or densely used by tourists. So we can market these areas, do the spreading of the tourists, which will have a beneficial impact on the environment without impacting the tourism activity. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm sorry if I took so much time.
Thank you. We quickly move on now to the next speakers. Your example and best practice was quite insightful, and I think it will help us to stimulate the discussion. I move on to best practice from Basilicata region by GeoCard, Raffaele Sant'Angelo, the integration of digital solutions for the immersive enjoyment of cultural heritage. Matera was in 2019, I think, culture capital, and you did a lot in the tourism sector. Then you had the pandemic situation. Maybe you can also briefly touch upon how that impacted Basilicata. And we liked your best practices, especially because you merge digital solutions and tourism. Digitalization, digital agenda is high on the agenda of most of our region. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks to the organizer for the invitation to participate in this interesting webinar. My name is Raffaele Sant'Angelo, and I'm the chairman of the board and business development manager of GeoCard company and member of the board of Digital Lighthouse company, belonging to the same corporate group. GeoCard is an engineering company that works in field of Earth observation with high specialization in use of satellite data, aerial and terrestrial surveys. And on the other side, Digital Lighthouse is an entertainment and media house specialized in virtual reconstruction, graphic animation, visual effect, audiovisual production, software and mobile application. In this presentation, I will briefly show some projects where the two companies have shared, on one hand, the engineering experience using positioning systems and satellite radar interferometry for monitoring of movement of sites of cultural interest, and on the other hand, the ability to reproduce immersive experience on cultural heritage through digital solution. Our idea is that innovative and digital technologies must be integrated to ensure both preservation of cultural heritage and a more effective use of the same cultural contents through commonly used languages widely spread among young and not young people. The first project is Aosta Digitale, Innovation for History. Aosta Digitale is an app available on App Store and Play Store, consisting of two main tools: a video game with games and puzzles that must be solved during an evocative journey through time aimed at discovering remotely Aosta's cultural heritage, and an interactive map, compass, and magnifying glass that allow to the tourists to explore the city by following fascinating and practical themed itineraries. The plot of the video game is inspired by this story of an English romantic traveler, William Brockendon, as reported in his travel notebook. The player who wishes to explore Aosta by physically visiting the city will be supported by the interactive map in visiting the site and many interesting, moving along thematic and customized itineraries that retrace the most culturally significant places. Augmented reality, which can be activated either in Aosta or using the app in another place, will make the visit to three main sites inside the city of Aosta. And lastly, an exclusive virtual reality experience is available solely for visitors who physically go to the Aosta. The user will be projected into an exciting journey in the megalithic area of Saint Martin de Corleone, in which he or she will be able to experience this in a fully immersive mode, ritual action, and instances of life lived in a careful reconstruction prehistoric setting. About Matera, the city that before Roya, the second project is named Matera Immersiva, and is an innovative way for enjoying and conserving the cultural heritage of one of the most beautiful cities in the world, named Matera. Starting from the implementation of digitization, virtualization, and archiving processes for an accurate selection of contents relevant to the city's cultural heritage, the Matera Content Pool is an interactive digital system on a cloud platform that assure, also using 5G telecommunication system, to provide to citizens, professional users, universities, research center, more than 8,000 digital contents with a full range of high-quality standard content, from maps of displacement or 4K, 8K videos, panoramic images, and 3D reconstruction of Rupertian Church. The third project, where we are developing with some other companies and some research center in the south of Italy, is Suggestus, is an innovative digital intelligence platform for the immersive use and conservation of cultural heritage. The platform is able to return digitized cultural content with high add value, including high resolution 3D models that can be navigated with apps and virtual reality. The platform is able to suggest personalized tourist and cultural itineraries through a recommendation algorithm based on semantic systems and a system of analysis and monitoring of visitor flows in the environment. And the last experience that I will show briefly you is the Quirinale 3D VR, and it has been the first project developed in 2016 together by our two companies. The digital reconstruction of the rooms of the Quirinale's main floor, the house of our Italian president, through high resolution laser scanner and cameras integrated with the data analysis of radar satellite data to analyze the movement. We think that positive effects of integration of different kinds of technologies, also based on spatial application, can guarantee an innovation way to remote visit of cultural heritage in a new inclusive way. Thanks a lot for the attention.
Thank you very much. I saw that we have one question from your co-speaker. Please, maybe you could let us know your question. Please all write the questions in the chat so we can share them with the audience. Could you let us have your question? No? So maybe he had just lifted up the hand. Thank you very much for the presentation and these examples of combining tourism with digital solutions. I move on to OpenNet Technologies, and the floor is to Filomena Cucarese. Filomena, the focus is on education, training, outreach, and we are very curious about the solutions you are going to present us.
Okay. Thank you very much, Roya. Thank you, everybody, for this opportunity. Let me just introduce a few words about me and my company. I am Filomena Cucarese. I am the managing director of OpenNet, which is a small medium enterprise located in Basilicata region in Matera. OpenNet has realized several research and development activities with both the Italian and the European Space Agency, developing several projects in different fields of activities. Today, we want to introduce you the Class Across project, which has been conceived during the lockdown imposed by the pandemic, and is a project is a SATCOM solution aiming at offering an education outreach platform to enrich from one side the educational opportunities with regard to students to improve their social factor and their opportunities to improve the didactic path during the emergency periods. But on the other side, the solution has also offered a great opportunity to scientific and cultural operators that had the possibility to reopen their doors to public and valorizing their rich heritage of scientific and cultural contents largely available. The project has been conceived by OpenNet and has been realized in collaboration with the Italian Space Agency and European Space Agency, and is a demonstration project. So the pilot stage has been realized with the Astronomical Observatory of Capo di Monde in Naples, the Parco della Murgia Materana here in Matera, that acted as content providers, and the Comprehensive Institute Enrico Fermi here in Matera. Several sessions of live interactive tours have been realized between the students and the two content providers, and at the end of the project that has been completely closed in last June, we have realized 16 live sessions with involvement on 337 public users, 258 students, and 18 teachers belonging to 15 classes. Regarding the content provider side, we involved 5 researchers and 3 moderators that help us to realize the demonstration phase. From the technical point of view, the solution is based on the integration between the existing one class platform, which is the result of another demonstration project realized and closed with the European Space Agency, and new elements represented from one side by a mobile application with the aim to support the portability of the service and reach as much people as possible, especially during the lockdown, and the education outreach platform, which is the new element reachable at the address that is highlighted in the presentation, as well as the app that is downloadable from the address indicated here. Operate is a telecom, a satellite technology provider, in the sense that we develop satellite networks. So we provided the content providers with the satellite technologies. Here there is a representation of the network scheme that we have realized during the project. All activities have been also realized with the realization of an equipment from the audio video production side. So we help the content providers to equip their content production and their audio video facility in order to provide high quality broadband. And in this case, the role of space technologies has been a very important role, because thanks to space technologies and satellite technologies, in this case, we had the opportunity to provide very high quality broadband connectivity, so very high quality of audio video during the live visits, where students and teachers had the opportunity to have a direct contact with the guides, so they made their questions and they received their answers in the same moment. All activities have been monitored through the outcome assessment tool, which is a software web-based that OpenNet has developed, and provide technical status of terminals, as well as the performance indicators, for example, the didactic activities of students, or tourism activities, if we speak about tourism. The project has sure remarked how the outreach education is a business opportunity for scientific and cultural content providers, not only limited to lockdown and emergency situations, but is a parallel business opportunities beyond the emergency context, because content providers can really reach niche markets and people that in other cases cannot had this opportunity to see new places, to be in contact with scientific centers, cultural centers, and tourism places. So from the technical point of view, the solution is demonstrated to be reliable, affordable, and suitable to overcome isolation, to reach rural communities, to reach very remote and isolated sites thanks to the satellite telecommunications, and to guarantee also high quality of audio video content productions. The school community, well, it was very accustomed to the use of technologies following the long periods of use of distance learning imposed by the pandemic from COVID-19. And about the content providers, as already said, this was a great opportunity to add from the traditional way to open their doors through the physical visits from tourists, to have the opportunity to realize a parallel niche market and reach very remote people, and had the opportunity to improve their business opportunities. That's all for the moment, and I am available for any questions, because really it was a very compressed presentation. Sorry.
Thank you, Filomena. And I think it was right for this digital format here. We really need short and concise to present the best practice with the key messages. And I think your example shows very good how you can apply this digital solution that you developed in the context of education in the school sector, for fields of the tourism sector, better reaching out to tourism sites, especially remote tourism sites and create a new touristic experience. I move on to the next speaker von Digit Mat Tourism Solutions, Digimat Spa, Paolo Bontonto. Please, the floor is yours. We're looking forward to a new touristic application.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Paolo Bitonto from Digimat, and we've been working for more than 20 years in the field of remote sensing, data processing, and Earth observation. I'll share my presentation. I'll start talking about the CPEA project, which is an acronym for System for Protection and Education for Archaeological Heritage. The project was developed for the Colosseum Archaeological Park in Rome and has the primary objective of monitoring the health status of the park's archaeological assets by collecting different types of information. The application generates ordinary and extraordinary maintenance plans using historical, local, and remote sensing data. Since the park is visited by thousands of people every year, it is important that can access the monuments in a safe manner. So for this reason, the platform is designed to help parks officials to define the state of vulnerability of monuments and outline potentially unsafe areas of the park, so that officials can decide to close them to the public or define zones which are safe to be accessed. In fact, the system implements a DSS, a decision support system, which provides a suggestion for intervening on the archaeological assets before a phenomenon could have a negative impact on it, using the data collected by the platform. So we have historical information of monuments, in situ sensor data, point clouds, 3D models, BIM models, raster, and vector maps in general. In particular, the application can also store data obtained through offline analysis of SAR data for the generation of permanent scatterers. Such data are crucial for the assessment of the health status of the monuments. So the system can generate warning about structural stability and potential conservation issues. PS data was obtained from the analysis of Sentinel and Cosmos SkyMed satellite data. The system also implements a process that allows operators who supervise the park to insert anomalies recorded on archaeological assets into the platform. So we can mix all data with observation on the ground. This operation can also be done directly using the 3D models or the point clouds. So one can insert the observation inside the model itself. This information integrates with other data from the platform to generate alerts directed to the managers of the various areas, so they can intervene to resolve the issues when necessary, of course. Sensor data can be collected using different protocols and payloads, thanks to a middleware component that in turn interfaces with a software based on standard protocols. So it's very important to use standard protocols to permit the data to be spread to the public. Since the architecture is very flexible, the system can also be applied to different domains by modifying the historical information section and the analysis module, which is considered as a plugin to the system. For example, we are studying the application of a similar platform to the monitoring of the health of the ancient trees that are in the park. It's very important to monitor the trees because when tourists access the park, we have to be sure that they are safe when walking inside the park. Before I conclude the presentation, I'll try to be as as concise as possible. I'd like to mention just a couple of other projects. The first one is a digital reconstruction of the Diocletian's baths in Rome, that uses the 5G technology. So the data is transmitted directly to the mobile phones or devices using the 5G technology. And also another project we have done here in Matera during a couple of years ago, in which we developed an application that creates a set of itineraries that can be followed by people inside the city in 3 days, because the number of itineraries can be walked just in 3 days. And the satellite information that we use here is the GPS data that we use to track anonymously the flows and the most visited places of tourists. So local administrations can use that data to to decide the places where we must, for example, detect crowds or understand if we can have problems during the day or during some times of the day. Also, as a side effect, we could also use this information to develop effective marketing strategies. On the same path, we are also working on a new application. This is an ongoing project in which we use also the GPS technology to create a local community which tries to connect tourists and inhabitants of an area of our region, Basilicata, which is the Basento River path. The main objective of the application is to recommend places, attractions, paths, and experiences supported by the GPS technology. That's all. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for your best practice. We open now the Q&A session. I have a question, but before that, maybe Asimina, thank you for joining us throughout the session. Do you like maybe to share some reflection of yours after having listened to the best practices, and you are also in touch with the users you presented to us?
All I want to say, thank you, Roger, for that, is that space technology can be used in any different way. Tourism as a topic itself is a very broad one. This means that, as explained in my presentation, you can tackle challenges such as like land cover, remote connectivity, it's a very broad topic that can really narrow it down into like green construction, green infrastructure, smart cities, natural resources. So when it comes to combining space technology and data, you need to improvise. You need to come up with any ideas. The reason we have come up with this call is I understand for potential applicants that it can be quite tricky because it's a very generic call, but come up with any idea. The reason why we're helping you through this call is because we have been establishing all those relationships with the stakeholders in order to identify what are the current challenges. So seeing those examples, for example, that the people have been presenting before, they're quite spot on. So you can just feel free to propose your idea, and any help you might need, just really feel free to contact me or our team in order to help you to shape the most, let's say, suitable pitch and apply to our program. But there are so many different topics that you can think of, whether this is climate change is a big problem these days. This kind of a readjustment after COVID that we've been having the past couple of years. So there are lots of things that you can think of, and space technology can be used really anywhere. We provide guidelines, we provide utilization of space technology, we have webinars. Any help on our side, we're more than happy to give it to you. So just reach out to us.
Okay, thank you. Then I have a question. NEREUS brings together like the players of the whole value chain, the public user, the administration that uses the space solution, and the players that develop it, the companies, the research center, universities. The whole dialogue with the public sector is key to us. We realized the Copernicus for Regions initiative, and the focus was on regional and local authorities understanding what are their needs and how can they better apply a space solution. Tarek, I have a question. I start with you. You said in your intervention you accompany the user to understand and interpret the algorithm. How did you interact with public users? How did you explain them your solution, and what was the feedback you got?
Yeah, thank you. There is a key point in our approach in general to the public users is that we do not tell them that we are coming with a satellite-based solution or space-based solution, something like that. We tell them we provide you with environmental indicators. Okay. Whether it's coming from whatever source, it doesn't matter. And then they start asking the questions. Okay, so what is the precision? What is the frequency of the updates and so on? And here we can go into technical details and tell them, okay, it is based on satellite data. We usually couple it with models as well. We have a number of patented models that we've developed with the team. So we give them the scientific background, we give them access to the papers if they want to, but the services that we are providing is environmental monitoring and environmental quantification, and linking it to the tourism activity, so human flows and so on. So this is our approach. Usually it comes from the sector itself, actually, because the tourism sector is striving towards sustainability, as mentioned right now, actually, but by Asimina, is that climate change is a big topic, and it's a big topic in the tourism industry as well. But it's starting now with environmental monitoring, and then we are progressing towards climatic projections, transition of the sector, and so on. So yeah, and it's there are guidance coming from the European Commission, but it's still not directives. So we are putting in place this pragmatic approach to help them understand what are the pain points from the environmental perspective. So yeah, that's our approach.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think this is quite important, and I like very much your approach that you say you don't speak of satellite technologies, but you speak and you concentrate of the content of your solutions and the solutions you bring, and also to bring it in the public policy context. We have a remark from Aldo Drago. Can you please put in the chat the important links and emails to connect to for proposals and guidance? We will share Asimina's presentation with all interested participants, and from there you will find the relevant references and website where you get the contacts. If there are no questions in the chat, I have a question to the three speakers from Basilicata, and maybe for all participants. The dialogue with public authorities is key for us, and we discuss really space solutions always in the context of public territorial policies on the perspective of regions, local and regional authorities. With this, we like to continue beginning next year with space and tourism, and we will invite the head of the tourism agency in Basilicata to share with us his needs and the needs of the region, and to see what are best practices to better respond to those needs. But today I have to the three speakers from Basilicata questions related to digital agenda. All of you three solutions. They are really quite innovative, combining digital technologies and space-based data. Would you say that your region adopted a particular approach to promote digitalization and digitalization of different economic sector and digitalization of the administration?
Thank you for your question, Roya. And I think that what we can say as representative people of companies that work here in Basilicata region is that in our region there is a high attention on special application, considering that Italian Space Agency has a presence in Matera with the Geodesy Center. And one of the effects of the presence of the Italian Space Agency in our region is that several small and medium enterprises work in connection in field of Earth observation together in the same consortium. For instance, GeoCart, DigiMat, and also OpenNet take part in a TERN consortium that is one of the first generator of NEREUS program together with Basilicata region. So maybe the effect of presence of central pole in Earth observation or satellite application stimulate our activity in connection with the public institution and also research center. And on the other side, we have here in Italy, in our region, in Italy, a lot of cultural heritage to be protected. So we are stimulated to put together this field of application.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
From my side, Roya, obviously I totally agree with what Raffaele already said, because also OpenNet together with GeoCart, DigiMat, but all the other companies in the Basilicata region work all together, also being part of important consortia like TERN consortium, like we are part of the Basilicata cluster of aerospace, but also of the national cluster of aerospace. So our project activities have always been realized in strict collaboration with the public system, because we try to customize user requirements, but also public requirements and needs when we build and set up our project activities, because our focus is not only towards private markets, but also towards public markets. So we have gained several relationships during these years with ministries, for example, Ministry of Education, Ministry for Cooperation, but also National Council of Research, NEREUS, the European Space Agency, Italian Space Agency, and so on. Also several NGOs working at European and international level. So this is a continuous exchange between public and private sectors.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Paolo, do you like something to add to your?
Well, yes, I agree completely
colleagues?
with what my colleagues said before. I just add that I can say that we mix work with private and public companies. So the presence of the local station here in Matera for data, for satellite data downloading and processing is very important to us, because we have had the possibility to study all the processes that are behind the collection of data and processing of data. So the presence of that company here in Basilicata is very important to us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
That leads us to conclude this session. We thank you all for attending and for your interest. Asinina has put the important link in the chat. You can all copy and paste it. We, with the session Space for Sustainable Tourism, we will be happy to welcome you beginning next year with a new edition, with a new session, this time bringing the tourism agency from Basilicata to the floor to tell us more about their needs and bringing also some new best practices. We plan in the next year to organize more sessions on tourism, bringing to the floor also other regions. I see today Veneto is present to us, other Italian region, and French region. So we want to really make this a dynamic community and better linking space with tourism. Thank you so much, and we keep in touch.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.